Before the moon, sun, or stars, there was only the void. The Creator brought forth a glowing pen, commanding it to write. For 400 years, it recorded the absolute destiny of the universe and the names of all things to come. From elemental forces, raging water, fire, smoke, and minerals, the architecture of the cosmos took shape. 7 distinct heavens were organized, constructed from materials like iron, silver, gold, and rubies, each separated by vast distances. Down on a newly expanded Earth, a civilization emerged thousands of years before the first human. These were the Jinn, a race formed from smokeless fire, granted their own laws and prophets. They ruled for generations, but eventually their society fractured. They abandoned divine law, descending into a cycle of corruption and violence that left the planet's surface stained by bloodshed. When humanity finally arrived, they were not stepping onto a blank canvas, but into a world that had already seen an entire civilization rise and collapse. To end the corruption on Earth, armies of angels were dispatched to purge the Jinn. They swept across the mountains and forests, systematically dismantling the society that had fallen into ruin. In the wreckage of this purge, the angels discovered a young Jinn boy named Lace. He was standing alone, untouched by the corruption of his peers, and entirely absorbed in worship. The angels were moved by the sight of the solitary worshiper. They petitioned the Creator for permission to take the boy back with them, intending to raise him within the safety of the heavens. The request was granted. Lace, a member of the very race the angels had just finished eradicating, was carried up into the celestial realms to begin a new life among his rescuers. Lace possessed a memory so sharp he never forgot a single decree. In the heavens, his dedication to worship intensified, eventually reaching a level of focus that even the angels, beings designed for service, found difficult to match. Over thousands of years, he ascended through all 7 heavens, eventually reaching the throne and earning the title Malaya, the teacher of the angels. His influence became absolute. When new groups of Jinn on Earth fell back into sin, Los himself was sent down to lead the angelic host in battle, executing the final judgment on his own kind. This military and spiritual success changed his internal landscape. Los began to look at the vastness of the universe and the limitations of the angels, and concluded that he alone possessed the knowledge required to manage creation. By the time he reached the highest level of the celestial order, his identity had shifted from that of a humble servant to an entity defined by his own unmatched status. Los eventually requested to view the Lauh Mahfuz, the preserved tablet. This is the master record of all destiny, where every action of every soul is written before it happens. While reading the tablet, Los found a specific entry. It described a servant who would worship for 600,000 years, only to be cursed and expelled for a single act of disobedience. Los was horrified by the text. He fell into prostration for thousands of years, weeping over the thought that any creature could be so ungrateful to the Creator. Still believing the prophecy referred to a stranger, Los began to vocalize a curse against this mysterious figure, unknowingly spending centuries condemning his own future. He had reached a level of knowledge where he could recognize every potential sin in the universe, except for the one currently growing within himself. The peace of the heavens was broken by a new announcement. The Creator intended to place a Khalifa, or representative, on the earth. The angel Azrael was sent to harvest first human, Adam. Los watched the process with disdain. To him, there was a clear hierarchy. He was made of ethereal, smokeless fire, while this new creature was merely a mass of dry, dense earth. Once the soul was breathed into Adam, the command was issued to every entity in the heavens. All were to prostrate themselves before this new creation. The command forced a direct collision between the hierarchy Los had imagined for himself and the reality of a divine order he no longer wished to follow. The entire angelic host obeyed instantly, falling to the ground. Los alone remained upright, standing in the middle of the prostrating ranks, rigid in defiance. When asked why he refused, Los was blunt. He argued his origin in fire made him objectively superior to a creature made of clay, making the command to bow beneath his dignity. In that moment, the prophecy on the tablet was fulfilled. Laz was stripped of his titles, cast out of the heavens, and his once brilliant form warped into a darkened, volatile state. He was now known as Melun, the Cursed. Before his expulsion, Shaitan made one request: the power to remain hidden and whisper into the minds of Adam's descendants, vowing to prove that they were as unworthy as he believed. The story of humanity began with this division in the heavens, leaving the descendants of Adam to navigate a world where a hidden adversary now shared their very thoughts.